Cedar shingles, it's a good-looking, long-lasting traditional siding material, but the tannins in the cedar can lead to staining down the road. So how do you deal with this problem? Well, we call Jim Lacey. He's a pro painter from Bethel, Connecticut. He's going to show us how to paint this challenging material.
All right, today we're talking about cedar shingles. It's actually one of my personal favorite forms of siding. Very rich, very traditional looking, and also very long lasting. But there are some issues as far as preparation is concerned that we want to talk about. As you notice, this is a pre-primed shingle, which really offered very little resistance to tannin bleeding. We have it all over the siding. So the best way to approach this is to use a quality oil-based primer specifically used to cover up the tannin bleedings. In this situation, we're going to use quick dry and hopefully do 2 coats in 1 day. As you can see, I've actually tinted this primer to the approximate color of the finish coat. This will help us finish the job with less coats, less work. The way I like to apply my primer is to work from top to bottom, apply under the shingles and work my way down, working it in. There are some rough spots that we see on the siding, so this will require a little extra work. When I'm working with either paint or primer or any product, I don't like to completely submerge my brush. We can always add more if we don't have enough on our brush, but it's very difficult to take off large amounts of paint, and it just makes a cleaner job. That seemed to be just about the right amount. Now that I've finished this course of shingle, I'll probably just take a real quick look, make sure there's no drips or runs, and if there are, I'll just fix them with a dry brush, not a brush that I've dipped in the paint. And I may even go back one more time before things really start to set up and dry to make sure I'm drip free and run free. Once the run's dry, it makes it difficult, then you would have to sand them off to make sure it's a smooth finish. Another good reason to apply primer to the entire new siding is you have some of these field cuts that are actually bare that without question need to be covered. So we're actually accomplishing 2 things here. We're blocking the tannin bleeding and we're spot priming and priming all of the bare cuts. I always prefer solid body primer as opposed to just spot priming because you're getting one solid uniform surface. As you can see, I'm working out of a metal paint pot. I prefer the metal over the plastic. It's a little sturdier, a little stronger. A little more money, but I think it's worth the extra $1 or 2. When I work out of the pot, it allows me to control the amount of primer I want to use. If I'm using a huge section, I'm moving real fast, I might fill this up a little more than halfway. If I'm doing a smaller section, I'll put maybe a quarter bit of paint in there. But you're able to make the choice as opposed to working out of a gallon. As you can see, I've actually chosen not to caulk to the siding just yet. I prefer to do the caulking after the primer has dried. I feel as though caulk provides a better bond and a better seal to the primer. So I'll caulk in between the primer and my subsequent final coat. Well, we've completed our priming on all these shakes. We've got uniform coverage of stain blocking primer over the pre-primed shingle. And now we're going to do one final check for drips and runs. And we're going to wait for this to dry to apply our top coat.